This is News with the Disney Dude. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel for more content, and please hit that thumbs up if you like the video. I know that I'm a day late recording this news. Had a bunch of things happen yesterday. The air went out in our house, so I'm recording this in very hot in a very hot house. And a couple other things happened yesterday, so I just didn't feel like recording the news. But I'm gonna soldier on and do the news for you in a very, very hot house. All right. So, but now let's get to the news for Thursday, March 26th of 2026. Restaurantosaurus and Dinobites signs are now extinct at future Tropical America site at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The signs for those two locations are now gone. Obviously, they're going to be repurposing both those buildings for when the new Tropical Americas opens next year. Knock on wood. Opening next year in 2027. So, but those two places are going to be reused as probably since it's Tropical Americas. I assume that we're going to get some food from inspired by different corners of the world, or maybe they're just going to keep a place that sells hamburgers. But I'm not sure. Maybe they'll do both of them at that location. I don't know. But it'd be interesting to see what the new restaurant will be like. Because obviously we don't know anything. We know it's a restaurant. We know it's still gonna be a restaurant. We know that. We just don't know what's going to be served in said restaurant. And the same thing with Dinobites. We know that it's gonna be probably still maybe they're gonna keep it up as a walk up type of thing. Maybe that's where they're gonna sell your hamburgers and chicken nuggets and things like that. But again, we really don't know. We're just going to have to, say it with me, kids, just going to have to wait and see. All right. Here's not a new story, but Lightning Lane continues to sell out through Easter at Walt Disney World. And I know people are going to come in the comments, or they're going to stop me, and they're going to be like, there's no way I would pay for that. It's like, yeah, I understand. Okay, I get it. If you're watching this, I assume that you're like me. You're an annual pass holder. Or if you're not, you're just interested in news. You're interested in, Disney theme park news. Okay, but it is news. I have to report on it. It is outrageous. But again, as I've said before, the Premier Pass Lightning Lane was not built for us. Was not built for us annual pass holders. It just wasn't. It's different at Disneyland, although I don't think they even offer it. I don't think they even offer a Premier Pass at Disneyland. I could be wrong, but I think that they just sell regular multi-pass Lightning Lane. I don't know, but maybe, if anyone's watching this that's an avid Disneyland park goer, let me know. But as far as I know, Disneyland only has the multi-pass option, whereas Walt Disney World has two options. They have the multi-pass and the Premier Pass. And obviously, everybody now wants the, that's coming from out of state, out of the country, they want the Premier Pass because that guarantees them every single ride at a specific park for that day. Is it the more expensive option? Yes. But the people that only come once in a lifetime, maybe twice, they're going to pay it and move on. They're not going to bat an eyelash. So, but I'm not going to go into that whole rant. I went, I did a whole honest review for this, Premier Pass when it debuted. So you can go watch that on this channel. So I'm not going to go into it again, but the Premier Pass just wasn't built for us annual pass holders. It just wasn't. So, every time we report on it, people, they come in the comments and they're like, well, there's no way I would buy that. And I would, blah, 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 and Disney is, blah, and then they want to make it political, and then they want to make, how they're pricing people out and blah, 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 which, again, I've been down that road several times. Several times I've been down that road. So I'm not going to go down it again. If you want to watch that, I have separate videos for those rants. Okay. So it's, yes, it's egregious, but, people are going to buy it. They're going to pay it. So, again, it is news. So I have to report on it. Scrim has partially been removed from Woody's lunchbox after more than 4 years since the project began. So they are finally almost done with this project. I can't believe that it took them 4 years to do this. So to put this in perspective, so when the Walt Disney Company used to do hand-drawn animation. Look that up, kids, okay? Hand-drawn animation. Remember those days? So, when they used to do hand-drawn animation, it would take them 4 years. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but on average it was 4. It was 4 years for them to complete an animated movie. So, to put that in perspective, it took them as long as it would take the animators to animate a hand-drawn animated movie to complete this project. Okay, I don't know what took you so long, but okay, whatever, it's fine. Cinderella Castle paint project shows more blue turrets. They are cranking along on this thing. I went to the Magic Kingdom the other day. I should have vlogged. I didn't. But when I got off that monorail and made it past Main Street USA. And, and then there's that grand reveal of Cinderella Castle. I got emotional. I really got emotional. I was like, thank you. Thank you for putting Cinderella Castle, painting it back the way it should be. Thank you. I am so happy to see that castle in its pristine color again. I am so happy. None of us asked for this, but we all wanted it. So we kind of asked for it, but it was something that we never even thought would be done. We never thought that they would, paint the castle back and put it back to its original color scheme. We were like, we all wished for it, but we didn't know if it was even going to happen or not. And I'm so glad it did, because it's, it shows that this current management cares. They care about most things. Some things we can you know, we can argue, Rivers of America, this, Muppet Vision 3D, but it shows that this regime cares. The Josh D'Amaro regime cares. So I am so happy that Cinderella Castle is almost back to its former glory. Final paint touch-ups seemingly completed on Tomorrowland rocks in the Magic Kingdom. You want to talk about something else that took a long time, much longer than it should have. It was the Tomorrowland rocks. Again, I don't know why it took so long. That was ridiculous. That was kind of outrageous. I don't know if it was because of the Cinderella Castle repaint or if it was just Disney was like, it's fine, it's okay. But, I'm glad that the rocks that they're pretty much almost repainted and they look that they're going to be, again, restored to that, restored and looking great. So again, it's another sign that this regime cares. They do. Closing date has been revealed for Francesca's at Disney Springs. They will be closing on March 29th. So make sure you get in your last visit to Francesca's before they close on March 29th. Probably every single blogger and vlogger will be there on the 29th to film it for the last time. So, but just keep in mind that the 29th, they will be closing. Rock and Roller Coaster guitar has been sanded ahead of repainting. So they have covered this in scrim. So I guess they've had they had to sand off all of the other all of the other colors when it was Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, so they can repaint it for Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. But I'm interested to see what this looks like. I've softened on the car. I have softened on the upside down car. In the beginning, I was like, I don't really like that. I hope that they do something more with that. And they have. So I'm like, okay, this looks a lot better. This looks a lot better. So I'm hoping the same thing will be with the guitar. Scaffolding goes up around Gonzo's Royal Flush Tower, Gonzo's Royal Flush Water Tower, and more brick wall demo is happening at Muppets Courtyard. So again, there's just chiseling away at my soul and my heart. Yeah, so they're getting rid of they're getting rid of my beloved corner of Hollywood Studios that I loved. Probably the corner of Hollywood Studios that I loved the most. I would dare say I loved Muppet Vision 3D more than I loved the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular or Beauty and the Beast. I don't know. But I'm a big Muppets fan. I love the Muppets. I love the Muppet Show. To me, it just feels like, my heart has been ripped out. Not to say that, if they ever do get rid of Indiana Jones, which I hope they don't, but if they ever do, then, more of my heart will be ripped out. Same thing with Beauty and the Beast, stuff like that. But only time will tell with those locations. You just don't know. You never know. Nothing is sacred at these parks. It's just not. They're just not sacred anymore. If getting rid of Muppets or the Rivers of America has taught us anything, it's nothing is sacred in the realm of the Walt Disney World theme parks. Speaking of Indiana Jones, actually, changes underway at Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular Exit. Elements have been removed and planters have been installed. Now look, I don't want to make people, I don't want to, upset people or anything, but the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular is not going anywhere. It's not. Okay, this is just refurbishment work, and they're just focusing on the exits and just doing some general refurbishment. So the show's not going anywhere. The show is not going anywhere. I don't expect it to go anywhere for quite a long time. I really hope I'm right. I used to sit here and say the same thing about Muppets. I used to say the same thing about Muppets. They're not going away. They're going to be there for a long time, and then look what happened. So, again, Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular really means a lot to me because I know those cast members. I've met them all. I love them. They're like family to me, and it would be heartbreaking. It really would be heartbreaking if they were to get rid of that show and, get rid of all those people. It would be devastating. It would be devastating. So as much as I, rant about them getting rid of Muppet Vision 3D, I would be devastated at them getting rid of Indiana Jones, at the same time. But I just don't see that happening. I really, nothing that I know of says that they're going to get rid of the show. I just don't. I really don't. And I truly think that when they debuted the new Muppet Show on Disney Plus, I don't think that they realized their mistake. I don't think Disney realized its mistake until the new Muppet Show debuted on Disney Plus. And they were like, oh, we probably shouldn't have gotten rid of Muppet Vision 3D. So, I truly think that they realize their mistake now, which, they're trying to, they're trying to stop the bleeding and say, well, we're going to put it on VR, which is not the answer. So, but again, I've done that whole rant, but, they had to come up with something. They were like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have gotten rid of Muppet Vision 3D. So they were like, we didn't know that this would cause a huge kerfuffle in the community. So, they had to do something, and they were like, well, we'll just put Muppet Vision on VR and then just shut everybody up. So, but again, I've been down that whole rant and everything, so I'm not going to go through that again. But, but with the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, I mean, that show always brings in a crowd. That show is always full. Always full. I have to tell you, it's always full. So I really don't see them getting rid of it. I really don't. Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin exterior has been painted purple and green. This, again, they are, chugging along on this thing. We are just weeks away now. Not even. We are just days away at this point now. Days away from this reopening. So I can't wait to go ride this ride because, to me, this was the worst. This was, without having to sit down and think about it, I think that this was the worst ride in the Magic Kingdom. Now, if I sat down long enough and thought about it, I could probably, pick out a couple others, but off the top of my head, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, to me, was the worst ride in the Magic Kingdom. So I'm glad that they're updating it. I'm glad that they're putting money into this thing. So I can't wait for it to reopen. I really can't. I'm excited. Rock and roll. Speaking of Rock and Roller Coaster, Rock and Roller Coaster Upside Down Car gets finishing details on designs. They've just about got this thing painted. Again, I've softened on it. It looks great. It looks good. This is a project that's kind of weird and kooky, and I never would have expected that they would have gotten rid of Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. But again, this is all connected into, Muppet Vision 3D closing and Disney trying to shut us up and blah, blah, and saying, well, we're getting rid of this show, but we're putting them, but we're moving them to Rock and Roller Coaster. Oh, okay. Oh, if you say so. But I really like the car. I really like the car. It makes me wonder what they're going to do to the actual ride vehicles in the ride. To me, that's more intriguing. Are they going to do the same thing? Or are they just going to keep the color, the same color as Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith? I don't know. So again, tagline for the show, we're just going to have to wait and see. Okay. Florida approves permit for Magic Kingdom ferry boat dock expansion. They are, I believe this is for the ferry boats to take to take people to and from the Magic Kingdom. I would assume that's what they're talking about, since they got rid of the Rivers of America and the riverboat. I would assume that that's what this is. It never hurts to widen stuff. It never hurts to, kind of make things more accessible or just add capacity. Even though the ferry boat actually holds the most people, I don't see them expand. I don't see why, they wouldn't want to expand the dock. So, but again, this is one of those I'm going to have to keep my eye on, because I really don't know. I really have no idea. Town Square gets paint touch-ups at the Magic Kingdom. They, so again, all this outside stuff is getting touched up with paint and all kinds of other refurbishment work, because again, we are entering our rainy season. It's getting ready to start. It's coming. So it would make sense that Disney's just trying to get everything ready for the hurricane season. So, but making again, I've sat here numerous times, and I've and all of us as a community have said, every day is someone's first day visiting Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom or EPCOT or Disney Springs or the water parks or the hotels or whatever. So every day is someone's first day. So you have to keep these things looking fresh and up to date and new. Because if guests come and they see that things are rotted or things are faded or things that just don't look right, they're going to notice. They're going to notice, and be like, well, that's not good. We spent all this money just to look at crap, So, again, it is nice that Disney's, touching all this stuff up, which is the way it should be. Disney is installing new sets for Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So, when this opens, you're going to see a 37-year-old man go to this, because I'll have to film this show. So, yes, I'm going to be a 37-year-old man and film this Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Okay, so, but again, I'm looking forward to this show. I really am, because pre-COVID, I think the Disney Junior live on stage, or what do they call it? Yeah, I think that's what it was called, Disney Junior Live on Stage. I thought that was a good show. I thought that was a pretty good, solid show. And then when they came back from COVID and they did Disney Junior Play and Dance, it was a much more scaled down version of live on stage. And I thought, okay, this is only temporary. Performers are distanced. They want to keep everybody safe and everything. So this would be temporary until they get the original show back. And it never came back. And we were all sitting there going, oh, okay, I don't know why you're having this COVID run show still going. So I'm hoping that, with this new show, it'll be, much more like Disney Junior Live on Stage with more performers and a longer show. A longer show would be nice. Having just a quick, what was it? What was it? I don't even know. Like, 14, 15 minute, 16 minute show. I was like, oh, you couldn't make it longer. You couldn't make it longer, which is, one of the complaints I have about the shows nowadays is they're just not long enough. They're just not, I understand Little Mermaid, it was 19 minutes. I get it. Beauty and the Beast, 25. Some shows are, a half hour, like Frozen or Festival of the Lion King, but especially recent shows now, like Little Mermaid, like Villains, they're very short. They're very short, quick, 17, 19 minute shows. And it's like, we can't make shows that, are longer. Do we not think people don't, are we thinking that people don't have that long of an attention span? Okay. But, again, hopefully the new show will be, longer, but, that's for Disney to know and us to guess. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad signage permit has been filed at the Magic Kingdom. So they are almost done. They are almost done with this refurbishment. I can't wait for this ride to reopen. It's one of my favorite rides at the Magic Kingdom. So I'm excited. I am really, really excited for this ride to reopen. Disney Adventure Friends Cavalcade and Festival of Fantasy are shifting showtimes at the Magic Kingdom. Starting on April 6th, the Disney Adventure Friends Cavalcade will perform twice at 10:30 and 11:45 a.m. And Festival of Fantasy will be performed twice a day at 12 and 3 o'clock. Which is really kind of interesting because, Adventure Friends Cavalcade starts at 11:45 and Festival of Fantasy starts 15 minutes later. So that's going to be really interesting. That's going to be really interesting because Disney usually doesn't do that with parades and stuff. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting to see. And I like the Adventure Friends Cavalcade. I really like that cavalcade. It's the only one left. But I really like that cavalcade. I just wish that I wish that they would keep it at the later times, like, right now it's running at 5:10 and 6:25, I think, or 6:20, one of those two. Which is great because I love seeing it, because 10:30 and 11:45 is too early. It's too early for me. I don't get to Magic Kingdom until after this is done. So I usually always miss the Adventure Friends Cavalcade. So I like it when it's later, when it's at like 5:10, because I get to watch that before I leave for the day. So, I wish that it would be always at that time, always at those times, but, I understand, you want things, for, more things for people to do in the morning, but, I wish that Adventure Friends Cavalcade would just stay at that 5:10 and 6:20 or 6:25. Though I wish it would stay at those performance times. World Showcase passports are sold out at EPCOT, which is really strange. I'm surprised that they ran out. I think that this was the first time that that's ever happened. I could be wrong. But that's strange that they would run out this quick, that they would run out this fast. And our last story is EPCOT After Hour dates in April have now completely sold out. They are gone. So if you wanted to go to the EPCOT After Hours in April, you are out of luck. If you haven't bought your tickets, you are out of luck. They have sold out. But there you are. There's your news for this week. Again, if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to my channel for more content. I thank you guys very much for watching this video. You all keep each other safe and healthy. I will see you right back here on Monday for Monday's show. And by then, our air will be fixed, so I won't be sitting here in agony recording the news. But until then, I will see you on Monday. Y'all keep each other safe and healthy. And remember that tomorrow is just a dream away.